Hey guys, my name is Aram, aka Mayflower Ink, and I'm here to teach you how to make your florals look as organic as possible and move away from stiff, awkward designs. So the three components to the masterclass is design, shading, and then translating that onto the body. So looking at design specifically, you want to start off with learning how to draw a flower from scratch. So I'm going to start with peonies, the most popular flower right now. Everybody's asking for it. It's very important to start loose and light and get darker and tighter. So you don't want to go straight down. You don't want to go straight across. You want some sort of diagonal approach so that things end up wrapping beautifully around the body, or if it's just on your page, that it's looking a little bit more organic. So we're just gonna start with some basic circles. So maybe I want one to end up right there, and then I want a smaller one just to support it down here. Everything can come off of one stem. So for example, I'm gonna draw this like little S curve. That could be a stem. So things are always shooting off of this one line. If it's bunchy, then everything's kind of coming off of the middle. So you have your florals, and the leaves are shooting off of the middle. So we're starting off really light. I know it might be hard to see, but that's kind of the point, because you just want to make sure you're not going too dark right away. Now we're going to go ahead and start drawing just the flowers. So I like to, in order to avoid making it too circular, because that can be kind of boring, you want to almost give yourself a trapezoid shape to kind of frame your flower in. So it can be something like that. Now I'm gonna try and construct the florals based off of this trapezoid shape. So of course it has a middle, which is somewhat of a circular shape. And another thing to think about is the angle in which you're looking at the flower. You don't wanna look at it head on with just the middle, and then it's just a little boring. So you wanna almost have a bit of an angle and perspective when it comes to the flower itself. And then we're gonna go on and just lightly kind of decide where petals are gonna go. So I'm gonna start in the middle and branch out. Just like how it's actually blooming, that's how you want to look at it to draw it. So we're going to just start with a few petals here, and we're going to start really loose. You're not worried about exactly what the petal is going to look like just yet. We're just worried about the overall composition. Everything is either kind of blooming upward, because that creates a nice, beautiful kind of flow with the body, because if everything's pointing inward, there is a sense of like closure. So you want things to look like they're kind of blooming outward. At this point, we can decide basic leaves and foliage. So I have my kind of S curve where I want the flow to go, so we can kind of play off of that. When I design, I like to bounce around the drawing as much as possible. So if I'm focused on one corner, that might look great, but then you're kind of forgetting about the rest of the composition. So I like to bounce around so everything feels balanced and kind of well thought out. So we've switched to a blue tone just so I can see the difference between my kind of second draft when it comes to this. There's no erasers in tattooing, so you really have to work with what you've got, and you're forced to kind of just be on the spot and make those decisions on the spot. So I like to use something called dynamic line work. So what that means is there's different line weights, obviously thin to thick, but how you can use those becomes your style, and that becomes your flair. So understanding shading will really bring your design to life. So knowing perspective will help you decide where you're gonna put your shadow. So you want the dark to be scattered throughout your design and not just in one spot. So creating that kind of bouncing around the design so that it all looks balanced. For example, when you look at a flower, the darkest point is always gonna be the middle, or where the petals kind of start to get hidden or covered by other petals. So understanding where the shadows go in life will help with your design as well. You want some sort of a gradient, some sort of a value, so that that shadow kind of dissipates into the light. So freehanding is actually drawing the design on the body as opposed to stenciling. This is the best way to get the most natural, organic look. So of course you want to start off with where on the body the freehand is going to be. For example, if it is on an arm, you want to make sure it wraps kind of beautifully so that it doesn't look stiff or too linear. So of course, part of the arm will be hidden when the arm is down. We want to make sure that the main kind of features of the design are still visible. You don't want to put the biggest flower in a hidden part, unless that's kind of a specific request. So when you're freehanding, you want to start with a really light, I use Sharpie, or there's freehand markers as well. So you want to start super loose, super light, and just get the flow, the basic shapes down. As you start to make those decisions, you're going to move on to darker utensils. So maybe you start with a yellow, you're going to move on to orange, and then do your final kind of line work with a dark purple or something that's a little bit more high contrast. I like to kind of hold their wrist and turn it as I'm drawing so that I can kind of see the flow and the movement of the arm. I hope you were able to pick up some techniques from today. If there's any questions, please comment below and enjoy doing your own florals.